Hey, how you doing? It's Martin Cliff here. Welcome to another video. Can you believe it's September already? I certainly can't, but then I am filming this at the end of April. So I hope everyone has had a great summer. I hope the world, and particularly Eastern Europe, is in a much better place than it was at the time of filming. But after Acoustic August, as we come into September, I'm continuing my look at my guitar collection 2022 and delving into the world of basses. And there are only 4 basses. I've been downsizing my bass collection pretty significantly. And yeah, by the time this goes out, these should be the only 4 basses I have left. I currently have 3 that will be hopefully sold before the summer is out. So this is the bass that kind of changed everything in a way. This was a bass that I got from my wife for my 40th birthday present, which was wonderful, wonderful. It arrived actually a couple of months early. The lead time ended up being surprisingly short for it. But it's a bass from Mike Lull Custom Guitars, which is up in Bellevue near Seattle, Washington in the USA. And this was, yeah, produced second half of 2017. It is their M5 model with a few tweaks. One of the cool things about going to a custom builder is that you can get things kind of tweaked to your own particular liking. So their typical M5 has a 4-in-a-row control layout, which I don't personally like. I think there's also a switch on quite a few of them. So I opted to go for the diamond-shaped control, a bit more like a Spectre or something, a bit more traditional, kind of 90s vibe, I guess. But the Brian Bella model also has the knobs in this way, so I knew that they would be open to do that because it's essentially the same bass that has a little mini switch on. The bass originally came with Seymour Duncan bassline pickups, which were cool, but as I've kind of got more basses and focused more on my tone, I've moved a bit towards the Bartolini sound, so I decided to put in, I think they're the 59 classic jazz bass pickups from Bartolini, obviously the 5-string model. Good solid hip-shot bridge, hip-shot tuners with a D-tuner on the B, which I may take off at some point just to reduce the weight a little bit. This isn't a heavy bass at all. I think it comes in at like 8.3 pounds or something, which for a 5-string bass is pretty remarkable. I chose the gold hardware because I like gold hardware on basses. I chose the trans green for something different really. At the time I had a trans red bass and a trans blue bass, and I wanted something a little bit different. And I saw this colour on the website and thought, yeah, I like that. Bird's eye maple fretboard, maple neck with graphite reinforcement rods. Balances super well. I mean, I've got it on a wide strap, but that's just because I like my shoulder. But it balances really well. It's not neck heavy at all. And yeah, really, really comfortable to play. Runs at 18 volts. It's got the MTBF Plus, or MTB Plus F preamp in from Bartolini. Yeah, it has a sort of string through hole for the low B if you want that little bit of extra tension. I've never used it. I use fairly light strings on bass. This is a 40 to 125 set of the Dario NYXLs. It's the 40 to 95 set, and then you buy the 125 separately, which is slightly annoying, but and slightly more expensive. But what can you do? I've never, because it's a 35-inch scale, I don't like 45s in standard tuning. You heard it on the intro playing with the pickups flat, which is 99% of the time what I do. I very rarely actually touch the EQ. I tend to leave it all pretty much in the centre. And I started out with the pickups both on balance, which gives you that slightly honky sound, a little bit scooped. Neck pickup. Bridge. Now, the only time I really touch the EQ at all, there are two things that I might do. One is if I'm taking a solo, or playing a particularly standout part, I might crank the mid control, which would really push things forward. Just gives it a little bit more punch, a little bit more grit, and I think at the moment, because I've got a compressor on it, maybe didn't give the full effect of that, but it would drive the compressor harder, which would give me more sustain. We just kind of do the similar thing. So I could potentially stand on a boost pedal or something. And there are various options to that. The other thing I might do is if I'm playing something specifically kind of slap based, and I want that modern funky tone with the mid scooped a little bit, I find, so it's a dual mid control, and I think it's at like 250 with it in, and then 800 with it out. So what I would probably do for that is go on both pickups, pull the mids to, so it's at the 800, and then back it off a little bit, and just boost the bass and treble just a little bit, and that will give me more of that. Hands haven't woken up yet this morning. So it's got, yeah, just a little bit of a kind of more modern scooped kind of tone when you do that. Other than that, pretty much flat all the time. If I want to get more of a kind of traditional jazzy tone, I might roll the treble down a bit. The other pull pod it's got is on the volume control. It switches between active and passive mode. I have active set to be slightly louder than passive. There's a trim pot inside. So active. So there's not a lot in it, but it's nice to have that feature there for if you want a more traditional tone, or specifically if you run out of battery during the gig. Yeah, your signal might be a little bit attenuated, but at least it'll work. And the pan pot still works in passive mode, just obviously none of the EQ does. Some basses I know have passive tone controls that work if you're in passive mode. This doesn't, but I've never seen a need for that, so that's fine. So the other thing I added was the detuner, just to get that lovely low A. Be a little bit careful playing sat down doing that, because the strings are not low, but if I lean back slightly that string will then rattle. That's just gravity. And of course now it doesn't do it. Maybe I didn't pluck quite as hard. I don't use the detuner a lot, so whether I'm going to keep it on there or not, we'll see. But my spare tuner that was on this bass is currently in the UK, so I'll pick it up when I'm next there. And make that decision. It's a really quick and easy swap over if needed. So yeah, it's a fantastic bass. Definitely took me down a new road when it came to basses. In terms of signal chain, bass is going into a MXR Bass Compressor, and then kind of splitting out. So there's a DI coming straight from a Grace Design Alix preamp, which is more of an acoustic preamp really. I use it for acoustic guitar mostly, but it also gives a nice clean DI sound for bass. And then it's going, bypassing all the other effects on my pedal board, into a Tech21 DI-2112 preamp with the two separate outputs, so a blend of those. And it's also feeding, there's a RJM Tone Saver splitter buffer unit under my pedal board. So one of the outputs is also feeding my trusty MarkBass Little Mark Vintage, which is a lovely sounding, I use it mostly for live obviously, but it just has a certain character to it. So you're just going to hear a blend of those in all these videos over these next few weeks. But yeah, really happy with this bass. As you can probably tell if you see what the videos coming up over the next few weeks are. Sadly, Mike is no longer with us. He was when this bass was made, and yeah, it was a truly wonderful piece. I wasn't originally going to go down the route of Mike Lull. I was speaking to Timothy Chan at Unisound and looking at options for building something special for my 40th birthday. And I'd considered a few things. I ruled out Sadowski because I wanted a 35-inch scale, and Roger Sadowski doesn't do 35-inch scales. He has a thing about that. I don't know exactly what the deal is with it. But I've played for 20 plus years 35-inch scale basses, so it's not necessarily a tension thing too much as I'm just more used to where to put my fingers on a 35-inch bass. So then I looked at Sandberg, and I think a couple of others, but Timothy suggested that maybe Sandberg was not as premium as something like a Mike Lull, and he brought in a couple of his Mike Lulls for me to try, and they just felt fantastic. So I went with it and haven't regretted it for a moment. This bass is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, love it. So thanks for watching. Really appreciate it if you click that thumbs up icon. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I'll see you next time. Take care.